polling is a science. Now, does that mean that every poll is accurate? No. Does that mean that every poll is using a methodology that would conclude or lead to accurate numbers? No, it does not. But if you know what you're doing, if you know what to look for, then you can look at these particular polls. You can look at their methodology, how they acquire that information, ascertain as to whether you should believe it or not. And what I'm here to tell you is that a lot of these polls are indicating that Trump has no chance in hell if he becomes a Republican nominee. Now, it'll be very, very entertaining, but it doesn't mean he's going to be effective. And this is why deep inside the Republican hierarchy, they don't want Donald Trump. Because even their poll numbers are saying that he has, among Latinos, an 80% unfavorable polling number, okay? 80% of those who were polled as Latinos say they don't like Donald Trump. He's not going to be able to win in a general election with those kind of numbers. He's got similar bad numbers with African Americans. He's not going to be able to win a general election with those kind of numbers. And here's the other reason why the Republican establishment is upset. Is because if these numbers hold to be true, then it means that Donald Trump threatens to not only lose the presidential election, but he might affect the other elections sort of down the card, so to speak. So, maybe you got people running for state senator, or maybe you got people, in different states, that he might affect the turnout in such a way that not only will the Republicans lose the White House, they might even lose some seats in Congress. That's how deep it is. So Donald Trump is fun right now. He's window dressing. He's making it exciting. He makes you want to click on it. He makes you want to watch it. But that does not necessarily mean it's going to automatically translate into him winning in November. And this is why the Rubio people I read were really pressing him and gearing him and fluffing him and getting him ready to go after Donald Trump. He did just that last night, and it sounded like this.
If he builds the wall the way he built Trump Towers, he'll be using illegal immigrant labor to do it. The second...
So cute. Such a cute soundbite. But here's the guy that buys a house for $179,000. He sells it to a lobbyist who's probably here for $380,000, and then legislation is passed. You tell me about this guy. This is what we're going to have.
Here's the guy that inherited $200 million. If he hadn't inherited $200 million, you know where Donald Trump would be right now? Selling watches in Manhattan.
I have to say, he lied this time. He lied. 100%. 100%.
You lied about the Polish workers.
Yeah.
You lied to the students of Trump University.
38 years ago.
Oh, he lied 38 years ago. All right, I guess there's a statute of limitation on lies.
It was fun. I enjoyed it. He went after him. I read that there was a 300% increase in Google traffic for people who were Googling two terms, Donald Trump and Polish workers. Hell, I even Googled it. And what I found wasn't nice. It looks like everything that Mark Rubio said about Donald Trump that night about the Polish workers was absolutely true. And I don't even like Rubio. I think he's crazy, just like Ted Cruz, in my opinion. But that's what's happening right now. That's what's happening. Also, Bernie Sanders has been unloading on Hillary Clinton. He went after her. He's going after her. And he's going after her not just on her record when it comes to criminal justice, but he's going after her on welfare reform. Remember the mid-'90s? This is one of the bigger reasons why I never supported the Clintons and why I became an independent. I've been an independent for all these years. And that's because welfare reform, it didn't have the effect that they thought it was going to. They thought that by pushing people off of welfare prematurely, that was going to push people into jobs. But by the way, because of your free trade agreements like NAFTA, there are no damn good jobs. So these people had nowhere to go. Or when they were pushed off of welfare, basically, they were pushed into jobs that was paying them less than the government welfare was. And I'll be honest with you. If you're on welfare right now, you taking care of a child or two or three or four, in some cases, because of how the game is set up, it makes more sense for you to stay on welfare and at least be home for your kids rather than kill yourself working 40, 50, 60 hours a week, 70 hours a week, and you still coming up shorter than you were on welfare, and you're not with your kids. You got to put your kids with somebody else. And who knows what they might do to your kids. So welfare reform was disastrous for our communities. It was disastrous. I remember the mid-90s. I never thought it was a good idea in the first place. Never thought it was a good old place. I never thought it was a good idea. I grew up on welfare. Section 8 kid. I remember the whole government cheese thing. They would drop off the cheese and the milk and the eggs in front of the house. We'd be embarrassed because of Section 8. We was out in the suburbs in Green Hills. We would try to make sure that, because what they would do, they'd knock on the door and like leave it with a crate right in front of your door. And we out in the suburbs. Kids wake up in the morning, they see the welfare dropped off. So we try to get out there real quick and grab it before anybody saw it. But I'm here to tell you that welfare has a place in today's society. I don't have the money to take and lift all these families up, but we collectively do. I believe in a social safety net. And I'll be honest with you. I don't care if people take their welfare benefits and buy beer. So what? That's your money. That's your money. That's what you want to do. Go right ahead. I got no problem with it. You want to take your money and you want to go to McDonald's with it? Go right ahead. That's your money. But I believe in a social safety net because welfare was initially set up so that mothers could stay home with their children. Nothing wrong with that. We still need that today. Mary writes, I'm voting for Bernie Sanders for the exact reason, Nathan. Us talking about Hillary can't get my vote. That's right. Brent writes, welfare reform along with NAFTA and the 3 strikes rules killed the black community. You're right about that. You're right about that. Keena writes, yay, it's almost 9 a.m. and Mr. Ivey's still on. Best Friday ever. Thank you, Keena. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Gwenda writes, Nathan, come with is so true. How about the increase of prisons that are still affecting our families? Yes. And so I'm not trying to vilify Hillary. And you might find yourself in a position where it's the lesser of two evils. And I hate to put it that way, but let's be honest, fam. Sometimes it comes down to that. Sometimes it just comes down to that. All I'm saying is that if we, the black community, are going to collectively get behind the Democrat candidate and that candidate ends up being Hillary Clinton, all I'm asking is that she be properly vetted by the black community. She got some splaining to do. Hillary, you got some splaining to do. And so that's why when I heard about this woman, her name is Ashley Williams, and she is a part of Black Lives Matter, as I understand it. And she confronted Hillary Clinton very recently and said, listen, you need to, she was holding up a sign, and the sign basically read, I am not a super predator. I am not a super predator. I think that's all fair. And she was asking Hillary Clinton a very, very simple question. That question was, are you going to apologize? Are you going to apologize? And I thought that Hillary's answer was super flat. She said, well, nobody's ever asked me that before. What? Don't tell me that. Don't tell me nobody's ever asked you that before. Because what that now does is call into question the efficacy of the mainstream media. Why isn't she being pressed on this more? I think it's legitimate. And then secondly, she got to come up with a better response from that. Now, it's all over the internet. The particular clip that I'm going to play for you is from the good folks over at thegrio.com. If you haven't read the article or saw the video, here's a quick news clip again from the good folks over at thegrio.com. They do great work. Check them out. But first, check this out.
2 Black Lives Matter activists interrupted a Hillary Clinton fundraiser in South Carolina on Wednesday night, and the confrontation got real uncomfortable real fast.
Okay, we'll talk about it. I'm not a super predator, Hillary Clinton. Okay, fine, we'll talk about it. Apologize to black people for mass incarceration. Well, can I talk?
Youth activist Ashley Williams is seen holding a sign that quotes Clinton's 1996 speech about urban youth gangs.
They are often the kinds of kids that are called super predators. No conscience, no empathy. We can talk about why they ended up that way, but first we have to bring them to heel.
The crowd didn't take kindly to the interruption. After some back and forth, Williams is then escorted out of the event.
You know what? Nobody's ever asked me before. You're the first person to ask me, and I'm happy to address it, but you are the first person to ask me here.
I'm going to be honest with you, family. Hillary Clinton strikes me as the type of white woman that's all cool with you until you ask her a direct question around race, and then the claws come out. Then the fangs come out. Have you ever been around somebody like that before? That's how she strikes me. That is a completely legitimate question. And here's what Hillary should do. She should just put it out there and respond to it. Because if not, it's not going to go away. And Ashley Williams is the real MC of the week for Nathan Ivey Online. Courage, strength. And I got to give it up to the sisters. It was a sister that climbed that flagpole in South Carolina and took down Old Glory. Remember that? The Confederate flag. It was a sister that did that. I see sisters out there on the front line getting into it with these Gilligans about the issues in the city of Cincinnati. And it was a sister that, and again, she didn't do it in a nasty way, in my opinion. She didn't put her hands on her. She did not curse. She did not curse. She was simply holding a sign that read, "I am not a super predator." And I'm here to tell you, Hillary, I'm not a super predator either. I wasn't a super predator back in the mid-90s. She said, will you apologize to black people for mass incarceration? I think she should. I mean, how is it that in the 90s, Hillary Clinton can create this psychological profile, right, for the super predators? And yes, she didn't say black people. I got to be real with you and be fair. She didn't say that. But we're all grown here. It was the mid-90s. It was before Columbine, and white kids was crazy on television the way they are now. It was way before that. And who was she talking about? Come on now. You know that black people were the tip of the spear when it came to the lockdown efforts in the mid-90s. Come on. The only people who are making that argument that she wasn't talking about black folks are people that are either bought and paid for by Hillary Clinton or people who are just ignorant as hell. There is no middle ground on that. I'm sorry. No middle ground. So how can she in the mid-90s do that? And you insert this into the psyche of the American consciousness. And then in 2016, you're on stage with Sabrina Fulton's son who was killed. Her son was Trayvon Martin. George Zimmerman was operating with that same mentality that black kids are super predators, that they're super aggressive, that they can't be trusted, that they must be doing something, they must be criminal, right? If that's a stretch, and I've been accused of stretches before, you tell me. You tell me. Panther Power, good morning. Writes, wow, the Pookie crowd is blaming Hillary for Bill Clinton. I guess they are going to blame Michelle because Barack didn't pass reparations. I don't know what you're talking about. Panther Power, I'm blaming them both. I'm blaming Bill Clinton, former president, and the numerous things that were passed. And I'm blaming his wife for being the female mouthpiece to it. What the hell are you talking about? Yeah, Brent writes, Pookie crowd, please. But nonetheless, you're definitely welcome. I'll read your comments. Lakeisha writes, does she really have to explain? ? We know exactly who Hillary is based on her record. I am definitely not overly impressed. Well, I think that she has to explain it. I want to hear her explain it. I want to hear her explain. And again, if that's how she felt in the mid-90s, I give her that. Okay, I mean, she's entitled to her opinion about whatever the topic may be. I give her that. All I'm saying is that when it was politically expedient for your husband's administration to serve up black youth to Republicans or to make alliances with law enforcement in the mid-90s, okay, now, because everything's turned around, now it's politically expedient for you to play the other side. I just want to know who she really is and what is her authentic opinion. If she's gone through a natural change or natural progression, shout out to natural progression. If she's gone through a natural progression in her ideology, in her opinion about that particular topic, I can give her that. Okay, I give her that because we all have. We all grow and mature. I just want to hear her explain it. I want to hear her explain, okay, in the mid-90s, I was working under this assumption and this idea about super predators. Since then, America, here's what's happened to make me change your mind. That's all I want to hear. That's it. And I don't think that any reasonable adult will say that that's unreasonable. Mary writes, Hillary is really a Republican.